Hey everyone, it's Simone, and I'm here with Bella Crystal, and we're here for another soul conversation. Tonight, we're going to be talking to the 50.
So, if you haven't been with us before, this is where we go into the intelligence of the gene keys and human design, and we actually, through Simone, we speak to the intelligence of these keys, because as we know, the gene keys and human design are living transmissions. So whoever of us that have the tap in can actually receive information. And Simone is role modeling that way of opening up and receiving that intelligence. So if you have the 50th gate or the 50th gene key, you can write questions in the comments, and we will bring them up and see what comes through for these questions.
All right, well, let's see what the 50 has to say. I like to communicate with the 50 for the purpose of healing and wisdom and sharing the soul of this transmission. 50, will you communicate with me? Wow, the 50 is like the first words I heard were there's so much to celebrate. And then it looked like a bunch of flowers blooming, just really coming up. And the 50 is saying, we, and it feels like there are other keys, gates, hexes with the 50. And the 50 is saying it is working in community. And it's saying that it's so grateful that we are all here to experience the transmission in a live setting. It says it's saying that we are truly bringing the aliveness to your contemplations, your conversations, and they're all saying that in the truest sense of the word, the transmission is alive, and that it is constantly changing. And I just see a picture of like the cosmos constantly expanding and changing every time, a star or a planet moves one fraction. The whole cosmic order has changed and shifted, and it's showing us, like, imagine that we're looking out into the cosmos at all the stars, at all the galaxies, at all the universes. It's a mirror of all the people on earth. And if we can truly grasp it, as any star changes or a sun flare occurs, or any, as the whole cosmos shifts, it's constantly expanding. So too is it true that anytime any one of you have, meaning all of us, has a shift in consciousness, everything shifts. So this is a time, they say, to celebrate the conscious expansion and the aliveness of the transmission, because it is constantly alive. The 50 is saying that if we talk to it tomorrow, it's going to bring in a different message than it's bringing in today. And it's saying that while there are truths, while there are themes, while there are Bella, they're pointing at you, like you and Ashley's work. While there are archetypes, themes, they're underpinnings of vibration for each. They're each and all constantly changing, and then changing the whole the body. So they say it's a celebration to have a conversation. They're using the metaphor of a birthday. So, it's like on the birthday, on your birthday, you have a celebration, whether you do it the same every year or, um, alone or with a group. But they're showing me that, like with a group, you might talk about, oh, hey, remember last year, and all the things that have gone through in the cycle. And so it's really, that they're emphasizing this cycle and this reflection and this awareness that um, that through this, the cycle is something to celebrate, that through our awareness of cycles, that we can actually have a conversation about the journey and the expansion. And it's interesting. Imagine how, in the United States, we have the Statue of Liberty, and she's got a headband and it's got spikes. Imagine that we all have these kind of headbands that are energy fields that are spinning light. So she says it's hard to imagine, but imagine, if you will, that your headbands are constantly getting bigger and changing. She says, imagine looking up at the Statue of Liberty one day and you see it, the crown radiating, beaming one way, and then the next day it's beaming something else. And maybe it's tears, or maybe it's shaped differently. She's like, that's what's happening with each of you. So imagine looking at a picture of the cosmos where it's spinning and it's changing, right? And we accept that, and we can see it in science. But she's showing me that that's kind of us, that we're constantly in our own evolutionary transit and journeys. And then she shows me to bring that kind of cosmos shape. She drops it down into the heart chakra. And as she dropped it down into the heart chakra, she goes, now look how beautiful everything is. Which is kind of interesting, right? And now she's dropping it down into our root chakra. And she says, feel into the beauty of being rooted. And I can literally feel that energy pulsing and spinning. And then she drops the energy down our legs, and it almost, subdivides, and I can see that energy around our feet. And then she shows me, imagine this now. So we've got that spinning, up here in our 6th, 7th chakra and around our feet, and we're walking forward. And she showed me this geometry of like a pyramid. So we're all, have the, and she says, feel how grounded you are when you are radiating your own expansion and your own walk forward. And she says that they want us to love ourselves on this journey. And so I'm watching, I don't know if I'm watching myself or if she's put these spirals around some other human being. And, I tripped, or whoever I'm watching kind of trips, like, oh, stumbles and looks behind. And then she kind of chuckles, like, we're all going to stumble along the way. And that's, it's like, as the galaxy expands, it causes a little disequilibrium, as those galaxies around our feet that are anchoring us, in this kind of pyramid shape. As it all expands, it's like wearing new shoes that you bought to grow into, like when you were a child and you bought shoes, and your mom would buy them a little big so that you could kind of grow into them, and you kind of stumble and trip, and it's she says it's it's an interesting journey of expansion, because sometimes it doesn't feel easy. Sometimes like you feel like you're tripping over yourself, and that just remember lightheartedness, and that it's funny sometimes when we trip over our shoelace, if you will, that we can, it's all in how you look at the journey, that you can be in she just keeps kind of replaying that, like a lighthearted acceptance that we're going to have disequilibrium, stumbles is the word she uses along the way. And that when we can laugh, we can see that as lightheartedness, like, and recognize that the journey is one of experimentation. And then she says, sometimes you fly. Now she's showing me the pyramid, the triangle shapes just kind of flying. And she goes, oh, look at how look at how, she goes, oh, you really like this. Like she's talking to me like, oh, you really like flying. So it's, notice how when when you play with your field, when you exercise your field, when you are aware in this joining of your cosmic field, that you can do different things. And it feels different ways. Sometimes you're flying and sometimes you're stumbling, and it's all good. She says some of you just look at the flying part as the good part, but she says I like to look at the stumbling, because that's when the universe kind of expands, when that movement is there. And she wants to play with us. She's like, what, let's talk about this. Let's co-create. Let's have some fun. They want to have fun.
I'm muting Simone a little bit. I love this. So I was speaking with Ashley right before, and I don't know why, but we started speaking about Richard's book, The 7 Years on the Wheel, and the deconditioning process that goes from the third gene key, and then it goes all the way around to the 42, and the midpoint is the 50. So there is something here with the 50 being the equilibrium, and the journey being a journey of like the eternal child is kind of stumbling, and it's all expansion. And I think the expansion is also that we are retrieving a little bit more of who we truly are, because the 7 years on the wheel is about deconditioning. So in each gate, it's like one layer that is falling off, so that we expand in our beingness, in our alignment with the soul, with the truth. So I feel like that's part of this conversation, and that is like in the energy of the conversation.
That's it exactly.
She's saying that's it exactly. I think we have Glenda is just commenting. Yeah, Glenda is a 3-5 who who has kind of that experience with playing with energy and experience, and failure doesn't exist, right? So if anybody's on having questions about the 50, or maybe the 44, which is in the same codon ring, or maybe the 3 that is the programming partner, or maybe the 27 that is the harmonic gate, here it's like we play with everything. Here is it's a synthesis. So if you have any questions, any comments, like Linda, we would love to hear you.
Yeah, and she's really so thrilled that you brought up that expansion includes the stumbling. That without she says it's really not true expansion without the whole range of experience, the stumbling, the falling, the cut knee, the flying, the effortlessness. And that creates an equilibrium, if you will, that and she says if you cannot resist the parts that you perceive as the stumbling or the hard. And she's showing me how sometimes when we stumble, we question, did I do the right thing? Am I in alignment? And she's suggesting that we ask things like, what did I learn from that? Well, that's interesting. Even try it again. Try to stumble again, because it's through that process, that experimentation and fearlessness with the experimentation, that we actually gain our stability, our equilibrium, our our capacity to, in a sense, stand on those spiraling universes that are at our feet, our root, our heart, our sixth, seventh chakra, that structure of us, which is kind of interesting because when she flashes me that back, imagine that Eiffel Tower, that kind of angular. It's not a hard pyramid. It's kind of like that when she shows me that geometry. Super cool. What other questions?
I mean, I'm thinking there are people here who have done the delta, so we know that the 50 is it's a musical key, and it's the tone B actually. But I'm just wondering, in like music wise, tone wise, if there are any sounds that want to come through for the 50.
She is making a tone. I can try to transmit the tone, and just know that I don't have any singing training. It's just going to come through as it comes through. So, may not come through for all you musicians. It may not come through as a beat. I'm just capturing the sound that comes through me from the 50. Oh, she says she wants to make a bunch, so I'll just make them all. Really dropping it down. Let me see if I can get it. She said, "Yeah, I like that one." She liked it when we really dropped down. Um, she's showing me like whirling dervishes, people who spin as a dance. And she's suggesting that if you want to play with sound, if you're not, she says, those of you who are musical, you know how to play with sound. But for those of you who are not musical, or, don't feel like you have any training, and you really want to play with the sound gate, she uses the word gate. If you really want to play with the sound gate of the 50, she's giving you a tool, and she shows me like us, like a whirling dervish. So you're just, kind of spinning, and as you spin, just to start to make the sound that comes through you. And then she says, as you spin, play with that sound. Don't just stay at one octave. Really play with it. Like, bring it down. And when she brings it down, it's like right between the pubis bone and the navel, kind of low, just above the pubis bone. Bring it really down, almost maybe 2 or 3 inches above the pubis bone. Bring it all the way down, she's saying, and then let it spring up. And she says, don't edit, just kind of spin and enjoy the play with the moving of that sound up and down the column. She says she really thinks you'll like it. And she says some of you may even want to use that technique or tool or strategy as a way to clear. She flashed me the word confusion. So if you feel confusion, you can play with that. And she loves that you asked it.
I'm thinking that this could be connected. Esther had a question and she doesn't know if it's true or maybe just a story, but I feel like this could be connected to the groundedness and to maybe bring an advice for exactly that. And I think that's part of the splenic. It's the 50s in the splenic center. It's a fear gate. It wants equilibrium. So it might feel like it didn't do the right thing, or it didn't. So there might be something here that the 50 wants to transmit to us about that groundedness and feeling like we are in balance when we make decisions.
So, Esther, what she's saying to you is that you do hold the energy, but your awareness is not always to the fullness that you're capable of holding it. And she says that it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That you can hold a drop of it or the infiniteness of it. And either way, you have the vibration of it. And she's saying, don't make yourself wrong for your whatever your awareness is. She says, revel in the vibration of wherever it is with you. And she says that sometimes you need a break from that awareness, that it's almost like, if you look at something too long, you need to blink and then refocus. And so she says, that sometimes you need to blink and then refocus. So she says, don't make yourself wrong for whatever, what you might be experiencing. She shows it to me as a dot of it. And then she shows me like the whole, vibratory realm of it. And it's all the same thing. And it's just a matter of what you're how much of it you're able to perceive. But she says you're connected, and she says allow yourself to blink. And she says the wrongness is the perception that you're not doing something right. And she just says it's not true. So she's asking the question, is that true? So if you are going to make yourself wrong, then you could ask yourself, is that true? And you'll know that, it's not true. So she says to settle into the receiving of whatever it is. Just settle the receiving of yourself. Maybe in that moment you need to receive yourself. And she says asking questions. Excuse me. Asking questions. Is that true? What is there for me to know? She's giving us questions for what Bella was speaking about earlier, about the 50 in general. So she says, instead of making yourself wrong, ask some questions. And go into the energy that opens up when you start asking the questions. She says the corruption is making wrong what's not wrong. Making wrong what's not wrong. Or where do you make yourself wrong and you're not wrong? We're not wrong when we stumble. We're just stumbling. What's the rightness of the stumble? You get to figure something out about yourself, about your environment, about whatever. So don't make yourself wrong and ask some questions. I hope that out does it.
I'm wondering, when it comes to the codon ring of the Illuminati, and we have like everything is going on in the world, and we know that if we have the teamwork of the 44, we have the equilibrium of the 50. It's basically whatever corruption can be out there, whatever is hidden is going to come up. And I think Eric Trude even says that the 59, the transparency is like the way that you get to the 50 somehow. So I'm wondering if you would speak a little bit about the corruption in the collective, or and how the 50 sees that.
So the first thing that the 50 shows me is she shows me what you speak of, like the corruption in the field. And she shows it to me in multiple layers. So one layer is people taking off the truth of who they are and kind of leaving it behind. So they take off their truth, or they step out of their truth, or out of their soul consciousness, and they leave it behind. And then she says that another corruption is the making wrong of what's not wrong. There is no right, there is no wrong, there's no good, there is no bad. It just is. And so when we make wrong what's not wrong, there's this dishonoring of the truth. And she says that's a corruption. And then she shows me leaving ourselves behind. How if we leave ourselves behind, we make ourselves wrong. Um, what else is she showing me?
So this is interesting. So would you say that the corruption, it sounds like you're kind of bringing it back to the, wait, I'm going to mute you because it sounds, so it sounds like she's taking back the corruption that we create instead of saying, yes, there's corruption out there in the field and this is how you deal with it. It's almost like it seems like, go back to yourself and look at your own ability for that 44 and that 50 and what's the alchemy that they have inside of you and how are you kind of not allowing that alchemy to guide you.
Very much. And she keeps showing me, flashing the word integrity. And one of the things she was saying while she was showing me all those pictures is that the truth in you is maybe not the truth in someone else. That we all have an integrity within us. And we're not all here for the same vibration. And so that, unless somebody is in the same exact vibratory field as you are, something in their field or something in your field is going to feel like a wrongness. And so that's why coming back to the self is so important, because you can be in your integrity, somebody else can be in their integrity, and that might be completely different. And you don't have to make yourself wrong or somebody else wrong, because what's inside of you, the integrity of you, is not what's the integrity of them. You can honor the truth of you, what's inside of you, while honoring what's in the truth of someone else. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to support it or give anything to it. But in a sense, like the not making them wrong or making yourself wrong. Because when we make other people wrong, she shows we go into judgment, which then creates a corruption within us, if that makes sense.
So even if we discern things around us, it's not really about judging them, even when it's like it's not what should focus on, what's going on around.
Yeah, notice what you notice. Notice what you notice about yourself. It's not that she says, I'm not telling you to not have an opinion. You can have an opinion that aligns with the truth of who you are. That's just choice. But there's no I can choose apple and you can choose banana. You can have your favorite fruit be an orange. I could like cherries. I'm not making you wrong because you like cherries and I like oranges. It's just a noticing of what the truth of you is, and that somebody else's truth is, your favorite is orange, mine is cherry. I don't have to make myself wrong. Why isn't mine orange like Bella's? Why isn't that the truth of what I love? It just isn't. And when we can accept that in ourselves, that, oh, my body thrives with pickles. Yours thrives with meat. They don't like meat. I don't have to make anybody wrong to see, oh, the truth in me is the integrity within me is different from the integrity in the other person. Yeah. The corruption is the making the other person wrong.
And I was feeling, when it comes to things like child trafficking or like, the real corruption that we can feel out there, and we can kind of see maybe be like on the other side of a veil, but it's there, and how to like not wear bananas and cherries, but where something is going on that's actually really, really sad and really low frequency.
She says that we all come for a range of experience. And so anxiety and excitement might be on the same bar, but when you're in excitement, it's different than anxiety. But maybe that's just a sliding scale of moving from excitement to anxiety. And she says that, sure, there are things that are happening in your earth world that are hard to believe that someone is integrity when they're doing it. But if that's what that soul came in to experience, then that's what their soul came in to experience. It's not what your soul came to experience. Did that help?
So here we have a double question. So is corruption in the sense a story we keep replaying? Today I was very vulnerable looking at a childhood picture of my mother, and I felt overwhelmed by all our experiences, trauma, and love. And then she says, I just wanted to reach out to her and give her the love I had as an innocent child. Is that bringing the truth to equilibrium and being in ultimate harmony?
The 50 says, indeed. Beautiful example. You don't have, she says, you don't have to love what someone else does. The key is to be in love and in the vibration of love and harmony within yourself. And from that place of alignment, integrity, and harmony within yourself, you can hold that other people are choosing things that you wouldn't choose, that are not in integrity with you. And you can find that space of love inside of you. That's the ultimate harmony.
So, what is the advice then when we feel affected or influenced by corruption that we perceive is outside of ourselves and maybe more powerful than what we are, and we feel like it's affecting our life? What is the best way to go around that when you feel like you kind of want to leave the country or the planet or whatever it is where you feel like the field is corrupted?
She says to find the truth within you and don't feed the corruption outside of you. So find the vibratory feel of what you know, what you feel is true and integrous within you. And she says that for some of you, you'll find the integrity within yourself, and you can beam love at whatever you want from that place of integrity, harmony, wholeness, transparency, love from within you, and just beam. And she says, for others of you, being in that, when you find that place of integrity, harmony, love, transparency, when you align with that flame within you, your integrity might be that you go out and do something other than being love. And she says, you'll move from that place of love and integrity within yourself, and moving from that harmonic integrity, transparency, love, that inside of yourself, with all of your light, with all of your being, this is what I'm supposed to do. That's an integrity and an alignment with you. And when you move from that place of love within you, maybe you go do something to change the thing that you perceive as corrupt, not from the place of resistance or corruption within you, but from the place of integrity, harmony, love, transparency, alignment within yourself. So it blooms from love from within you. And that's the motivation. She shows it to me as like a way to move into energy. That's the alignment she's guiding us to, and training us to, if you will, encouraging us to.
Mhm. So we don't have any more questions. So I'm wondering, is there anything more that wants to come through?
She said her first thing was, "This was a very deep conversation." Like, she says we went really deep, right? Um, and she loves that because she was kind of showing me. Remember at the beginning when she was showing that kind of cosmic field around us, and she shows me that we went through the band of that. We went from real lightheartedness to these deeper tones of complexity, where things are not so easy to see. And she loves that we went there, and that we trusted her to guide us. So, and she kind of the 50 doesn't has not felt alone this whole time. And it's so interesting to me that it's almost like she's using, working with the other gates, keys, hexes to create a harmonic with us, through us, with the others, so uh, I find that fascinating, that I think this has happened to us before when we're working with one and another shows up, Bella, and you've asked really kind of intuitively pinpointy questions, and so it's interesting that I mean, maybe through the words you actually know which keys she is bringing into the conversation. Um, do you, I think she actually wants you to say about it because you know me, I'm not the memorizer, so I don't remember all the connections. But she's going through the words that she was listing. So what are the? I think she wants us to actually recognize the harmonic that they've created.
I don't know if it's the key we have spoken about or if it's the delta keys. I'm not really sure, but I do feel like the 50, we are calling it the Maestro in the 64 doors. We're just creating it right now. And it is about that person who's kind of intuitively guiding the whole so that it becomes like it's what's creating that music at a higher frequency. And we are the notes, or we are the instrument somehow when we let us guide by it. And maybe that's the thing when you speak about the corruption, because I'm kind of like I wanted to bring in what's going on in the world. And and basically what she's saying is everybody, if everybody in the orchestra just focus on their own tone, on their own wherever it is, like then the music that comes out of that whole is going to be, it's going to be in harmony. And it's almost like the tones are not the keys, the tones are us, and we are making sure that they are slightly off, or that they are completely aligned, or that that they are not even there and they don't even want to be part of it. And I think that's the thing too. When I'm listening, I'm hearing, you can feel like you have to kind of hide and that you can't be part of this, but the only way of making music and like writing the story is if you actually sing your tone. So it's like it's an invitation. And I think being on that middle part of the wheel, the midpoint, the three, the programming partner is the 50. When we come through the 50, we are having more than 50% of ourselves that are more in true self than in not self, or more in the gift than the shadow, if we were to speak Jinky language. And that's the tipping point. You don't need to be 100% on the gift, and some people even think they have to be, mostly in the city. No, it's just to have it's just to have, it's enough with 51%. It's almost like that's when the good, not, I mean, it's not about actually either. I don't want to say that darkness is bad and light is good, but there's almost like you are more your true self than something else, than conditioned. And that's when everything can start to really truly have a long lasting evolution shift to something different.
And when you were talking about the harmonic, she kept using the word penetration. So it's almost like when we're in that harmony, the harmonic, the truth, the integrity, the transparency, the honesty, the love, and from that harmonic, that's how we can penetrate the cosmos. um 50 reminds me, this is from Brandon. Thank you, Brandon. 50 reminds me so much of the end degrees of Libra in astrology. Interesting.
And that's where it is. Because remember, this is the wheel. And right now we're in Libra and we are kind of at the end and we're going into Scorpio. So the I Ching is just another way, in a way, of explaining the wheel. So that's like such a good comment, and really just showing us the synthesis of those systems that with different languages or words, they tell us the same truth.
Yeah, and Brandon, she just offered you a kind of like a wreath of flowers that appeared when we were discussing when Bella described what you brought up. So just offering that wreath of flowers to Brandon and to everyone. Now the 50's laughing. She's tickled by that. Yeah. So, yeah. And she's like, she just said, be your tones, and feel the freedom of being your tone, your harmonic. That there's a freedom to allowing, if we think of our bodies as bells, and a bell makes its, when they cast a bell, it makes its tone, and it's like there's a truth to that. So be your tone, and know also that your tone is going to change through the evolutionary process. The tone that's perfect today is, she says, I can guarantee you it's not going to be the same in a year from now, in a week from now, in a minute from now. So whatever the tone is, be the tone and receive the tone of you, and revel and rejoice in the tone of you. I love that. That's so, it's like she's choosing to make us right and to see us as, be the tone of you. There's no, again, there's no like wrong in that. When you're being the tone of you, it's like, oh, it's receiving the integrity of who you are. Receive the tone of you, the harmony of you, the integrity of you. Yeah. Really lovely. It feels pretty complete, unless anybody else has a question.
No, I think we're good.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to say thank you to the 50. And the 50 kind of opened her arm and swept around. And it feels like, almost the whole wheel is with us, which is so fascinating to me. So she's even, in integrity, being grateful for all the gates that showed up and had this conversation with all of us. So, yeah, that's it. Yeah. So thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us. And you know that where to find us, Unlock Your Design or Simone at simonegears.com. And we are being back next week with the next transit. Thank you.